Hello guys, Omni here. Just finished episode 2 of the final season of Arrow, and it's time to just jump right into this. Again, if you haven't seen tonight's episode or last week's episode, there will be spoilers. So if you don't care about that, feel free to stick around. Otherwise, go watch the episode and come back. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. Not going to waste any time with this. So last episode ended with Earth 2 being completely wiped out of existence. The only survivor from Earth 2 is Laurel, and that really comes and weighs in on this episode very much. Not just on Laurel, but Oliver and the greater morale of the team as well. Laurel really, is putting rightfully so, is putting the weight of everything she just witnessed on Oliver, especially when she tries to go back to Earth 2 with the breaching device and it just will not pop open a portal to it, acting like it's not there. She blames Oliver for it because he shows up, everything goes wrong, everybody she ever loved, cared about, or anything is now gone. And she takes off on her own little thing to go find somebody she knew from back in the Kate and James days to try to fix the breaching device so she can get back, even if there's just a 1% chance that she can save anybody from her Earth. Oliver, especially riled up from this, rightfully so, has this conversation with the Monitor over what happened at Earth 2. And he's like, that's what will happen to all worlds if we don't stop the impending crisis. You got a taste of what is to come. And the Monitor implies that whole thing that happened to Earth 2 was sped up and brought on by Oliver deviating from the course that the Monitor set him on by interfering in the inner workings and meddling in the lives of that world's characters, with Tommy, with Laurel, with Adrian. The fact that he let himself get distracted by the familiar faces that he knew from that other Earth and deviated from just his primary mission. Tells him that you need to do exactly what I say. Do not deviate. Do not question. Trust me in what I say. He still doesn't tell him why he needs this particle thing, why he needs this scientist. And it's starting to really cast a lot of doubt on Oliver about whether or not Monitor and what he's having him do and the sacrifices that Oliver's made to follow the Monitor and try to prevent this crisis, if it's all actually valid or worth it, especially when the Monitor doesn't seem to care for any of the lives that are lost along the way. It really weighs heavy on Oliver's conscience in this, and that really is the emotional throughput of this episode for sure. When we find out where they woke up, it's a section of Hong Kong. Apparently they were transported here from the Monitor by the Monitor in the middle of a gang deal going down, which they had to fight their way out of after they wake up. And they reunite with Laurel, who just, again, goes off on Oliver. And that's where we had that conversation that I mentioned before. She goes her other way to go find the person from the Kate and James days to try to fix the breacher. And John and Oliver try to focus on finding the scientist. They go to Diggle leads Oliver to what is an Argus safe house, where he uses Lila's code name Harbinger to access it, which is a nice little thing since we know from some of the promotional images and stuff that's come out for the crossover event, Crisis on Infinite Earths, that she will be actually playing the hero Harbinger in the event. Whether or not that's our Lila Michaels or at different Earths or all Earths Lila Michaels or Harbinger, which would be very fitting as well given the character and the role. But they access this safe house for Argus and use the intranet there and the access of the resources of Argus to get some information on the scientist, to find out what he's been working on, where he was last seen, and all that stuff. Before they exit the safe house, they're jumped by a bunch of Triad guys, and they kind of get swarmed and overwhelmed. They do a good job, but eventually they just, there's too many people. And right out of the blue, Katana shows up, Tatsu shows up, and just saves the day. I love this character, especially this version of the character from season 3. Anytime she's shown up, she helps save our boys. And again, I think this costume of hers looks great, especially in this version of it. And she saves the team. And she really breathes into the moral side of this, really brings into question about whether or not Oliver, after she's filled in on why they're in Hong Kong, all that stuff. When she's filled in on that, she's really the moral compass here for Oliver in this one, especially since she knows what he can be like when he's following orders on blind faith, because that's what happened in that led to the destruction of a lot of things that they went through together back in season 3. And she knows that part of Oliver's life, and she does have an intimate part of that. So we also learned that she's been cast out of the Crescent Order after bringing the flower that helped cure the bloodlust from Thea. So now she's pretty much just a vigilante in Hong Kong, and she stumbled across them while tracking the Triad. And we learned that the Triad is actually looking for this scientist as well. So they split off, they do their little thing, and they're like, well, maybe if the Triad's after him, if we find out what the project he's working on is, maybe we can get some hints and clues as where to find him. They find out that he is working on recreating the Alpha and Omega virus, which was a huge key point of the whole arc in season 3. It was just a virus that would just end everything in the area in which it was released. And, it's also the virus that, she lost her son to back when Oliver and her were operating in Hong Kong, sorry. And, it definitely weighs into the experience that they have together. Again, why does the Monitor want this? Why does he want this deadly virus? Or at least the scientist that is working on recreating such a thing? What does he need these dwarf star particles for? What does he need this murder virus for? And, it's just raising more questions. And Oliver, his defense in this, I sacrificed my family. Everybody, not just Earth 2, all Earths are on the line for this. And if this isn't the way to do it, then how do I know for sure? What did I sacrifice my entire family for if this isn't the right way? And she just, she weighs in. It's like, you need to know for sure that your sacrifices are for the better cause. And she brings in the Monitor apparently has appeared in their own legends in the Crescent Order about this impending crisis that was foreseen, and that the Monitor really only comes when the crisis comes along with the crisis. And, she makes a good point, is like, well, maybe he also incites the crisis himself by interfering with these events. Maybe the peace he brings only becomes after he brings the crisis along. Maybe the crisis is the way to the peace in some viewpoint, from a certain point of view. Who knows? We don't really know. We have no idea what the motivations behind the Monitor is and his actions or anything else. But they follow along. They learn the Triads going at it. China White shows up, of course, leading the Triads, because apparently the Triads are only ran by China White in this universe, and they fight for her. They actually get the scientists before they can. And but Oliver manages to get the virus. They make a trade for the virus, and they manage to actually shut down and get both the virus and the scientists safely. Before that, we had a moment where there's a long drawn out fight with China White and Katana that, because of Katana really being focused on this mission, because China White's telling you got me down, you better kill me. And she doesn't, because their goal was to get this detonator they put, because there was a safe, like what's the word I'm looking for? They put a bomb on the scientist, so if Oliver did anything funky during their exchange, that they could detonate it. So they had to get that, blah, 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 got the scientist, blah, blah, blah. Because she was so focused on the detonator and the scientist, she threw a throwing dagger right into Katana's stomach. Right there, you think she's going to get the execution blow, China White about to killed Katana, and I'll just spit everywhere. Katana, and then just canary cry as Laurel shows back up, saves the day, saves Katana. Just completely awesome. And BA, where kind of made a skip over a point because I got so focused on what the main team was doing. Laurel does meet up with this little tech guy that she knew from the Caden James days when she was roaming with that crew, because he had apparently been previously working with her on how to get back to Earth 2 herself. And, he claims that he can fix the breaching device, and really he just kind of pokes around on it. Lila tells this great story about survivor's guilt and what Laurel's actually going through. And it's so touching. The emotional range that Katie Cassidy just delivers just blows it all out of the water in this episode. She just melts your face with just the pain and the emotion, the emoting that she does in this when she realizes it's gone. Her Earth is in fact gone. He manages to repair the device and confirms that there is no life signs or signal at all from Earth 2. They can open a breach to any other Earth, but not that one because there's just nothing to breach to. She just pushes endlessly on the button and you just hear the dull clicking of it, nothing happening, no response, and it's just the heartbreak on her face, man. It just gets you. Anyway, when she reunites with the team just in time to save Katana, and you know, it's just I love everything that they did in that. It was all done really well. Um, Before we go to the conclusions of this episode, let's talk about the future timeline because we do jump in and out of that. We learned last episode that JJ was after these access codes or after something in this higher up 1%er's vault that he was after. And they assumed it was so he could sell all the valuables within it because there was nothing in there except priceless artifacts, money, stuff like that. And they assumed that, that's what he was after for funding for his gang and stuff like that. So they go to the black market, the one place in the glades that he would be able to hawk that stuff. JJ again playing out the heart of Connor, who's blinded by the memories he has of his former brother growing up together. Again, gets them in a tight situation where JJ has the upper hand. He pretty much baited them completely by knowing that because he did that, Connor would think that he only did it for the money and didn't have an ulterior motive. Right now, it really only seems like JJ is after preventing the unification for some reason, trying to fill the power void between Star City and the Glades, preventing them from reuniting or using this time where both are weak to rise into power himself and fill that vacuum. So his goal is actually the head of the unification project, which is William. And they left behind this little like fried tracking device thing, this little flash drive that may have had some plans or indications of what they might be after. And it was like, oh, this is my expertise. And William works on it, triggers it, and it pinpoints his location and the bunker's location, and JJ takes him hostage. And that's where we really wrap up that whole thing. The brother that Connor knew, grew up with, is just gone and he can't be trusted. And it's just, I don't know how this is going to factor into the greater whole of the season, but I guess we'll see. Back to our main team. Satsu has a moment with Oliver where she talks about, that the Crescent Order might not know everything about the Monitor, but you can't trust him because of he always brings chaos, blah, blah, blah. And Oliver is like, the Crescent doesn't know anything. We'll go to it. They're not the oldest civilization or organization out there in the world. I'm heading to Nanda Parbat. He's going to go to the League. Hwacha! And see what they know. I'm sure the League will have something in there. I'm really excited to see how that all pans out. But I love the League of Shadows, the League of Assassins, that whole story arc, Ra's al Ghul, the lore all behind that, and especially the way they interpret. I know that segmented a lot of people in season 3 with the whole Ra's al Ghul, Oliver fake death thing. But I loved it. I loved it to death. And I'm really curious to see how they expand and explore that in a very nostalgic kind of way, since we are kind of getting some reminiscing of earlier seasons, completely skipping season 2. I guess season 2 is kind of integrated into the Deathstroke gang in some way. No mention of Mirakuru or Dr. Morrow or anything like that. So I guess they're just skipping season 2, but I guess we'll find out later. The end of this episode ends with the thing that irritates me the most, because we know that Diggle ended up on Earth 2 because Lila, Felicity, and all them got them mixed into the beat, and she sent John over there, and she goes to a dark alley and meets with the Monitor. He's like, "Do you have the scientist?" She tells him we got the scientist, and she asks him, are you sure this was the right call? And he's like, well, what? For us to survive the crisis, the sacrifice of Earth 2 was a necessary cost. And she is playing in with him. She's kind of being his second in hand here, his own little harbinger of working behind Oliver's back, furthering the Monitor's right now foggy goals. And it just, oh, it got my blood boiling. I don't know. I don't really know what the Monitor's plan is. Why does he need this stuff when they make a point of it too, when it's like, why he can just be anywhere, grab anything, get anything he needs, why can't he obtain these items, these people himself? Why does he need Oliver to do it? Is this even for the greater good, like he's saying? And again, he's also twisting his words when he talks to Barry, saying the Flash must die. He doesn't say Barry Allen must die. So it's, a lot of people are saying maybe it's one of the other Flashes will actually be the ones make the sacrifice play. Or maybe that he is saying all of the things specifically that they need to hear, very much like the Oracle did in the Matrix to Neo, that he's saying and doing the things that he knows will steer Oliver and Barry into the right directions that they will need to be, by either putting himself in a negative light in their minds, by having these things play out the way they do. Because maybe if he told them outright what he needed it for, if he told them outright, it would just change their perception of it and the course wouldn't follow out. And maybe by deceiving them in this way, they are hearing the things they need to hear to be on the correct path to save everybody, save themselves. Who knows? Either way, if it is for a malice intent, if it is for something for the greater sacrifice, or just maybe if he is really kind of playing that disattachment card where he just doesn't care about how many people die as long as some people in the multiverse live, I don't know. We don't really know his motivations, his goal. We don't know the details of anything he's really told Oliver until this point, and it's all been blind faith. Right now, they're doing so good at keeping. I haven't seen any leaks. I haven't seen anything like crazy about what might be coming up, but I've been trying to stay out of that. So even if there's something floating around out there, it's really hard for me to speculate on what's coming at on this. I'm sure we're going to get some tie-ins to the Lazarus pits. I'm sure we're going to learn some more about Nanda Parbat, the League. Probably uncover more about the Monitor, though what it might be, I'm not sure. Maybe we'll learn about the Anti-Monitor next episode or get a little taste of that. I don't know. I don't really know. It's really hard to speculate and make predictions for what's going to happen, because it really seems to be kind of just zigzagging all over the place with so far. It's really keeping me on my toes, and I'm really enjoying it about this season. And I think so far, even though it's a short season, it's a really powerful one. Again, the future stuff seems to just not connect to the threads all that well. Even last season, it was still very much of a stretch of connecting them to what was happening in the present day, and they still feel really disconnected to me now. So I'm really curious of how that's all going to play out down the road, because it's all got to come together at some point. So I guess we just have to wait and see. If you guys have any ideas, any thoughts, any theories, let me know in the comments below. What did you think of this episode? What do you think about where this is all going, where this is all heading? What do you think about the Monitor? Sound off in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. We'll carry on that conversation after the video. I don't think I can talk anymore right now. My throat is raw and dry. I'm sick, and this isn't helping. But thank you guys for hanging out, sharing your thoughts, listening. If you're still here at this point, support the channel by liking, commenting, subscribing. If you didn't like it, let me know what you didn't like. And that's it for today, guys. For now, maybe, just maybe, Oliver will not fail the multiverse.